from PRX.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and friends beyond the binary. It's time for the podcaster who at times may be channeling Eeyore, but with more of a to be your Beor friend, where Eeyore's a little down. Actually, I'm up and happy to be here with you. So my tone kind of, even though yours is usually a reflection of his emotional state, I guess mine is too. I'm in a calm, present state here to keep you company with some nonsense, because it's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Helix Sleep. And I'm excited to tell you about my Helix mattress. You know, I took the Helix quiz after I moved at helixsleep.com/sleep. And I got matched with an amazing mattress that fits my sleep needs, my feel preferences. And every winter night, I'm cuddled up in there. I am so cozy. How about you and your mattress? Do you have that kind of same relationship where every night you say, "Hey, boo, I can't wait to see you," like a mattress that fits your needs? What do you want in a mattress? What's going to make you comfortable so that you could drift off into dreamland? That's what Helix has figured out, because you go to helixsleep.com/sleep. You take that Helix quiz. Helix matches you with the perfect mattress based on your personal preferences and sleep needs. It makes buying a mattress so easy. It brings such peace of mind. Helix mattresses are award-winning beds, not just my favorites, but they've been tested and reviewed by experts like Forbes and Wired. And that Helix mattress comes straight to your door. Free shipping in the U.S., and I know I'm sleeping good in my Helix. I just don't know about you and the mattress you have right now. Maybe it is time for an upgrade. And now is the perfect time, because, of course, Helix has a deal for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/sleep for 27% off site-wide during their President's Day sale, now through March 1st. This offer is exclusive for listeners of Sleep With Me. That's helixsleep.com/sleep for this exclusive offer, 27% off site-wide. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. helixsleep.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody.
Taking care of your eyes shouldn't be a hassle. That's why Warby Parker is a one-stop shop for all your vision needs. Our prescription glasses and sunglasses are expertly crafted and unexpectedly affordable. Stop by a nearby store or use our app to virtually try on frames and get personalized recommendations. Did we mention we offer eye exams and take vision insurance too? For everything you need to see, head to your nearest Warby Parker store or visit warbyparker.com today. That's warbyparker.com.
Hey, this is Scoots. If you fall asleep fast, I'm really trying to get your attention with this voice, so please pause a second, okay? But if you aren't in a position to support the show, if you're new, you only listen occasionally, you're just going through a tough time, don't worry about this message. We've got you. Listeners like Stephanie support the show, so you don't need to worry about it. But if you fall asleep fast, it's really tough to keep the podcast going in a way that benefits fall asleep fast listeners. It really comes down to fall asleep fast listeners supporting the show, which is, I guess, irony and paradox, because if you fall asleep within 5 minutes, why would you support the show, right? If Fall Asleep Fast listeners don't support the show, it just can't even exist. Pretty weird conundrum, unique to shows like Sleep With Me. So I don't know, is your why strong enough? Fall Asleep Fast, is that a big enough why to support the show? Would the show not being here be strong enough a why for you to support the show? Or is there something else, like something like Stephanie said? Stephanie's been listening to the show for 8 years, and I had the same experience Scooter describes all the time. Tried it, disliked it, didn't get it, and then I was traveling and I gave it another try. And I fall asleep really quickly now, and it's completely worth supporting the show. In tough times, Sleep With Me's been there. and I feel like I spend so much money on things that have no meaning in my life. This show means so much to me that I can't help but be a supporter. In the past, I felt like other people would take care of it for me, like there was people with limitless money that should be doing the part for the rest of us. But once I really thought about how I spend my money and my deep relationship with the show, I realized I am one of those people who should be a supporter. It took a while to step up, but I did. Scooter works hard for us, so do a bunch of other people, too. And hard work deserves fair compensation. I just hope my support is helping. Well, it is, Stephanie, and it's helpful to hear your why. And if you've got a why, but you haven't supported the show, you could support the show because of your why right now, especially if you fall asleep fast at sleepingpodcast.com/plus. But then I'm going to send you a video. I'd love to hear your why of why you're about to sign up and support the show. Or, you could be hopeful like me that someone else has a why out there and they fall asleep fast and they're going to sign up tonight. But if it's you, you could do that at sleepingpodcast.com/plus. Thanks. Oh, Mystery Bard. A lot of people help out on the show. Who are they?
Posty poster son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Carl W. the legend. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the mystery bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Hannah like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. And hey, the thing I've been talking about lately is there's ways to support the show beyond the sponsors and supporting the show directly. If you're an occasional listener, right? If you're a new listener or you can't afford to support the show, follow the show on your podcast app of choice. Make sure to like or comment if your app allows that, and say hi. Spread the word about the show in person when it comes up, or let people know about it. Go ahead right now. Follow the show on your podcast app right now. Then you get the latest episodes and stuff like that. Great. Yeah, spread the word when you can, or sign up we're relaunching our referral program. It's going to be based with live stream get-togethers every once in a while. We're going to make it more fun. You could sign up for that. sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer, REFER. Thanks, and what do you say we get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing trouble, getting to sleep trouble, staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts you're thinking about, like things on your mind from the past, the present, or the future. It could be feelings or emotions coming up related to those thoughts, or just left over, or anticipate, whatever feelings you're having. It could be physical sensations. It could be changes in time or temperature or routine. Whatever it is, I'm glad you're here. And what I'm going to try to do is take your mind off of that stuff and keep you company while you drift off. Because, just in case, this could be situational, work stuff, outside stuff, third, fourth, fifth, sixth shifts. I might invent the seventh shift. Can't remember the last one. I say that's the first shift where people are working in 5D. And you say, here's the thing. I'd rather you work in one dimension. I don't need you, I don't want you working in 5 dimensions. I want you here, not working and going to sleep, I guess. So I'll go into the 7th shift and the 4th and 5th dimensions to kind of shut that down and say, hey, give this person's on break now. Imagine that. Like I come through a portal to your workplace and I say, excuse me, this person's now on break. And they say, well, who are you? And I say, are you familiar with the Tooth Fairy? And they say, well, yeah. And I said, well, I'm the break fairy. I come from land of, I'm here to give this person a break. And I say, I'm an authority figure, and I have magical powers. So just in case, just so you know, I have this wand here, wings, I'm winged. And yeah, I'm wearing a smart outfit too, because, this is breathable. Did you know this is breathable? I said, well, I could I could do that. But I prefer something with a breathable fabric, but comfortable. I don't need anything, and also I'm going to wear the layers. And that's why I have this, also have this bag. You can't see it. They call it a backpack. It's a pack you wear on your back. But yeah, you'll get used to this. It's a new thing. I'll be popping in and I say, this person's on break now. Don't worry, it'll be reasonable, but it's reasonable for them to have a break. You know what? I may be by your office later or not, depending on your behavior. Break fairy sees it all. I see it once, I see it twice. And if you misbehave, the break fairy sees it thrice. So you think about what would be nice. Maybe a break. Also increase it. Just so you know, we have one of those papers so that come in a PDF. You got to put your email in to download it, but it's a research paper on efficiency breaks and efficiency. You thought I was introducing a sleep podcast. You're right. I got mixed up there. Sorry, I fell into a dual role. Whatever it is that's keeping you awake, I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones. Pointless meanders just went on. I mean, it wasn't pointless. I guess that was more of a superfluous tangent. I said, well, they said, well, doesn't the Tooth Fairy, you still owe me 50 cents for my tooth back from, and I'd say, okay, well, I'm on break, believe it or not. I'm actually the break fairy, but I'll get in touch with the Tooth Fairy and we'll see. I'll tell you what, since you gave all your employees one extra break, here's an extra 50 cents. You want, those were $1987? Okay, well, the break fairy doesn't do math, so I guess you'll have to bring it up with the Tooth Fairy. I got to get back. I also make a sleep podcast when I'm not working. I'm able to do both, but, so I'm going to send my voice, lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents, all to take your mind off stuff so you could fall asleep. Now, my regular listeners, you already got to enjoy an early tangent there. I know that's for regular listeners, that's like usually a favorite thing. But if you're new, all of this could have thrown you off, which is totally understandable because, this is not like other podcasts. Even other sleep podcasts or sleep audio. Our show is very different because, one, it's not meant to be listened to. It's meant to you just barely pay attention to it. So that's one part of it. The other part is it doesn't really put you to sleep. I'm just here to keep you company while you fall asleep. So that's why shows are over an hour, to give you plenty of time to drift off. You can fall asleep at whenever it's convenient for you, but that way you don't feel any pressure. You got plenty of time, and I'm going to be here to keep you company and just talk. And you could either, as you become a regular listener, you say, okay, I prefer Scoots at this volume because I kind of do pay attention. Also, Scoots, I don't even know if I'm going to become a regular listener, but I'd love, where do I sign up for that break fairy service? And I'd say, I don't know. I'm looking, obviously I don't want to charge for it. So I'm looking for some supernatural funding. And so also, just in case anybody's listening that has the ability, like gods or goddesses, high-powered demigods and goddesses, supreme beings, members of the Supremes that may have superpowers, you could send some my way. I mean, it have to probably be like some sort of where I can be in two places, where I can, because I'd like to be on break. Obviously, I'm going to be the break fairy. But, so I'll need some superpowers or supernatural powers, probably both. Also some multidimensional stuff. Maybe an, invisibility cloak. So in case, I got to do some, I got to slot, show up in the break room. And then I do a reveal. I say, this break room's empty. What's going on here? This is unacceptable. And the whole idea of, people working from home now, I'm going to have to show up at their places and say, hey, time for you to take a break. So anyway, one day we'll have, maybe. But I'm doing a sleep podcast right now. So you don't really pay attention to me and don't really put you to sleep. Other things that throw new listeners off is the structure of the show, which is understandable because, again, this is not like a normal thing. Show starts off as a greeting, friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, so you feel seen and welcomed in. Then there's support for listeners. If you need anything extra right now in the show notes, there's stuff. Then there's support for the show, so we can be here for free. Then there's the intro. And the intro goes from like minute 6 or minute 8 to about minute 20. Though lately I've been testing out like a little bit shorter. When I say lately, like when I'm recording it, but the episodes don't necessarily get, anyway, it's not important. But so then after the intro is business that keeps the show free. And then our story tonight, it'll be our finale of our episodically modular series, Journey into the Land of Tomorrow, which you can listen to in any order at all, just a bedtime story that's slightly related to one another. And then there's the thank yous at the end. So the structure can throw people off, especially the intro, because a lot of new listeners say, well, when does the show get started? What is this intro stuff? And I say, well, you could skip the intro, and some listeners do. And like some podcast apps let you do that, or you could be a patron. You could just get story-only episodes straight to you. There's actually more patrons that listen to all intro-only episodes, though, than story-only episodes. Though not by a lot, but pretty close, but more. So you kind of got to see what you do, but the intro kind of serves a purpose to give you some distance from your day and to start the unwinding process, the unspooling of all that stuff that keeps us up. Like I found that I have to be eased into bedtime. And actually, the more I do this podcast and the more I get into saying, hey, what's going to be best for all of us here, my daughter and me, and what is our best, what routine really works, it is like this longer wind down. And that's something you kind of got to slowly develop. And you do have to sacrifice. I mean, for us, it's like, well, we're going to start making it your wind down routine more pleasurable and more, I don't know, what's important, closeness and stuff like that versus, hey, instead of watching TV for 45 minutes or an hour, we're going to do a quieter activity. We're going to do some quiet sitting or meditating, and then we're going to read together. Maybe listen to an audiobook, and then maybe listen to a sleep podcast. And that's just to ease you into bedtime. And you can kind of adjust. Like some people are listening during the day for distraction. Like some people are doing an activity or getting ready for bed. So just kind of see what works for you. But that's why the intro kind of feels like, at least initially, it goes on and on and on, or it's a show within a show, is because that's kind of how it's designed. And it's easy to skip there's 3% of people that say, I prefer not to listen to the intro. Though I will say the biggest intro fans are the people that initially didn't like the intro. It's just, I don't know if that's irony or what. So that's the intro. Oh, and yeah, and I talked about the story and everything. And the reason I make the show is because you deserve a good night's sleep, really. And I know how it feels out there in the deep, dark night. And if I can offer some relief and then the ability to rest, because I know how painful it is, to be honest, but also because our world will be a better place. It just is a better place to live in, knowing that your life's a little bit better. And that's not something I can do for everybody. And it kind of is this weird digital thing. But if my podcast, if my rambling and stories and pointless meanders and, light humor, whatever, it can keep you company, whether you're awake or asleep. If you're awake, I'm going to be here to the very end to keep you company tonight. But I'm also going to be here to the very end if you fall asleep to keep you company. So that's important to me because you deserve some rest and you deserve an opportunity to be more rested tomorrow, to not dread bedtime, and to eventually flourish. So that's why I'm here. I really appreciate you coming by. I really hope and yearn and strive to help you fall asleep. Thanks again. And here's a couple of ways I'm able to be here for you free twice a week. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Zocdoc. And raise your hand if you're a bit of a procrastinator like me. You put off setting up that dental cleaning appointment, or honestly, any kind of appointment, or even like searching for making an appointment, figuring out even how to do that. It's not easy, right? You want to put it off because there's a lot of barriers, it seems like, to making it easy. And here's the thing. I'm so happy that we work with Zocdoc now because I have new insurance. And I know right now in my hands I have the Zocdoc app. Oh, by the way, Zocdoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love. And we're talking about booking in-network appointments with over 150,000 providers across all 50 states. Whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, or one of the other 200-plus specialties offered on Zocdoc, you can easily search by specialty or symptom to build the care team that's right for you. And it's so easy to use. I'm using it right now. I just put in my insurance information. I'm looking for a new dentist. So I could search through here. I can start reading the reviews. They're verified patient reviews, so I can get a sense, hey, am I comfortable with this person? Then I can get the appointment set up right in the app. No calling, no waiting on hold. So if Zocdoc makes my life that easy, think about what it could do for you. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to Zocdoc.com/sleep to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/sleep. Zocdoc.com/sleep. Thanks, Zocdoc, for sponsoring this message. All right, everybody, I'm so excited to talk about tonight's sponsor, Coyuchi. Coyuchi's our new bedding, bath, and home products sponsor, and they are in a league of their own. And they're looking to help you sleep more comfortable, more healthy all year long. And that's starting with all of their amazing sheet sets. They've got organic sateen, they've got flannel sheet sets, and I care about taking care of myself, and that includes eating organic foods and thinking about everything that I put in and on my body. But I never applied that to my sheet sets until Coyuchi, because while there are lots of choices for organic bedding out there, Coyuchi stands above the rest. They've got a 35-year heritage, extraordinary quality, and a commitment to ethical production. That's what I want to be sleeping on, right? But what about you? It's time to invest in your health and the best sleep of your life. All Coyuchi sheets are made from natural fibers and certified to be free of toxins and harmful chemicals that could seep into your skin. And they're so soft and gentle on your skin. I love these sheets. Holy moly. Slid into them last night, got comfortable, got cozy. You could sleep well with peace of mind with Coyuchi. They also look good. Coyuchi sheets give you effortless style, whether it's a subtle sheen of their sateen or the velvety brushed cotton flannel to bring the natural world right into your home. And with every wash, these sheets just get softer and softer. There's no piling or tearing. These are crafted to last. If you want healthy, organic bedding that lasts a lifetime, you need Coyuchi. Get 15% off your first order when you visit Coyuchi.com/sleep. That's Coyuchi.com/sleep to get 15% off. That's COYUCHI.com/sleep. Get over there. Thanks, everybody. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing? Trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, things you're thinking about that are on your mind, the past, present, future, current. I've never thought, I just realized there was used to be a show on TV called A Current Affair. And it was like what do you call that? A news magazine show. I think that was technically the name of that genre of program. And I said, I said, that must be the most general name. It wasn't about affairs either. It was about, affairs general. What it was like meaning anything that's going on. You say, what like current soirees? No. But if there was a soiree, I guess they could cover it. And that was the show. I remember it starting as a kid, and then it was probably on, it was one of the many times in my life I had the TV on and I wasn't paying attention. It just it was served as background noise while I was playing with my toys. But I just thought of that, I think because I used one of those words, and I said, a current affair, that doesn't really say anything, does it? And then they said, yeah, we could talk about anything as long as it's somewhat current and whatever the generalized word of, it is going on. So current and happening, maybe, I don't know. I mean, again, my vocabulary. Oh, sorry, I'm making a sleep podcast. So whatever you're thinking about, well, that's how I got to. I said, if it's current thinking, it could be feelings, anything emotionally coming up for you. I mean, I know I have emotions about that show because I think, wait a second, wasn't that and then just like there's a sound effect that goes with it when they say it, like a zinging sound effect with a twang at the end, kind of like if you're practicing if you were practicing making sound effects for archery, that was like their tag noise. Maybe there was music. I just remember the Zoom clang. I think this show was either on before or after Entertainment Tonight. I don't know. Is Entertainment Tonight still on the air? That was a show that I paid a little bit more attention to. Particularly, that's where I got, before Who Weekly. Nowadays, Who Weekly, the podcast with Lindsay and Bobby, that's like where you could get your real info. But where was I? I was trying to start a sleep podcast. Sorry, I thought I was doing a thesis that was based on an ode I wrote, things on TV while I was playing with toys. And now I think I'm hearing the theme song to a show. I don't know. Is that Entertainment Tonight or something else? Okay, so feelings, anything you're emotionally coming up for you or physically coming up for you, it could be other stuff, changes in time, temperature, routine, your work schedule, your personal schedule, or it could be baffling. But whatever it is that's keeping you awake, I'd like to take your mind off of stuff and keep you company while you drift off. What I propose to do, which kind of sounds counterintuitive after these tangents I've already been on, but I mean, those are both shows that started around the 80s or something, that were on not during the day, after cartoons, because that was the reason why. I would have just watched cartoons or been generally had cartoons playing or animated television programs, technically. I would have had those on while I was playing with toys, but those end. I mean, who would have thought? They said, well, now, sorry, kids, now we got to get on other shows. there's currently there's entertainment somewhere in the world, and there's currently things going on. So, but I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, and superfluous tangents. Those are things you've already experienced already. So I'm going to go off topic. I'm going to get mixed up. I'm going to talk about nothing, essentially, or nothing of importance. I mean, I guess I could, can I throw shade at stuff that doesn't currently exist in its current format? Current affair was not really about it. It was like that I remember, but I don't think you would go to it for hard news. So again, very similar. You say, well, it's a show about stuff. So anyway, I don't know what that has to do with anything. Well, this is a couple of things. If you're new, this podcast is very different. You may have already determined that. And so, if you're having a strange reaction, that makes sense. People come to the show and they're skeptical. And on their first listen, sometimes their skepticism deepens. And that makes sense to me because I'm skeptical about sleep stuff all the time. So if you're skeptical or doubtful, I'm glad you're I hope I can help you. But for most listeners, they say, hey, it takes 2 or 3 tries to get used to the show. So give it a couple tries, nothing to lose. And some people just won't ever, the podcast doesn't work for everybody, but also sometimes elicits strong feelings in people of not liking it. And that's fine too. No, you don't have to like the show. I totally understand. This is an acquired taste, but it takes some acquiring. Those other things on that level. This is a podcast you don't really listen to or pay attention to. So you just kind of barely listen. Just like when I was a kid there. I mean, let's just say I play with my sister's toys sometimes. I may have been, there is something whatever you want to say about those Barbie dolls or whatever. Let's not get into that. But their hair could be combed. And you want to talk about a meditative practice. Here's the thing. Go to any store that sells used to things. Do yourself this could be I've tried all these techniques. None of them have really taken hold. And I realized, the people have strong, Barbie is something that people have strong feelings about. Totally understand. Let's just talk about the combing hair on a Barbie. Independent of all that other stuff, I could do that all day long. Or as a kid, I don't know when the last time I did it was. I think if the last time I did it, it was not a Barbie. It was what is it? An anthropomorphic figure from the TV show Monsterhigh. I definitely, but I brushed their hair. I don't think because I don't know if we have a comb. But anyway, but brushing doll's hair is meditative for me. Or as a kid, I may have been doing that. I mean, I don't care if you know. I'm proud. I mean, I'm proud that it relaxed me. I wish somebody would have said, "Kid, keep that up, man. You're gonna need that." You know what? When you go to school, you better take a doll in your backpack, one of your sister's dolls, and your comb with you, because you're gonna need it. And then that would be something that plays out exactly the opposite of how you would think. It's, excuse me, teacher, before you raise your voice, or excuse me, older children, let me take this doll and comb its hair. And then I would just be blissed out and they would be stunned. And I'd say, I'd appreciate it if you change, just like those episodes when I have a perm. Oh boy, I've gone far afield. So, this is a podcast you don't really listen to. Like I was playing with toys and not listening to the TV shows. I was aware they were on, but they were there more as an current affair. They were under my current affairs. So I wasn't really paying attention other than to the music and the sound effects. So that's this podcast. This podcast also, believe it or not, doesn't put you to sleep. It's here to keep you company while you fall asleep. Eventually, the idea is you'll fall asleep. You'll just be listening to me, and then you'll wake up tomorrow. That's why shows are over an hour, to give you plenty of time to drift off, so you don't feel any pressure or anything. So it's a podcast you don't listen to, don't fall asleep. I'm here to keep you company. Even if you can't sleep, I'll be here. But I'm here to be your bore bae, your bore sib, your bore cuz, your bore bestie, your bore bruh. Then the structure of the show is also something that does take getting used to for some people, which is understandable. It's a different structure. Show starts off with a greeting so you feel seen and welcome and know that I'm doing my best to create a safe and welcoming place. Then there's the listener support, and then there's support for the free podcast. Then there's an intro. The intro runs like 12 to 25 minutes of me doing what I've been doing for the past 8 or 9 minutes, rambling. But so for a regular listener, they say, okay, I wonder what Scoots is going to talk about tonight. Didn't expect it. Once again, in almost 1,000 episodes, I found stuff I probably haven't talked about before. And I'm even saving, like, the names of people hosts are popping into my head, like, John and Liza, that's who I was thinking of. But, like I said, I could have saved that for another intro. Now, John Tesh and Liza Gibbons, that's who, when I think of, what was the name of the show? Stars Tonight? Oh, Entertainment Tonight. Sorry. That's where I got my Hollywood news from, or entertainment-based news. Okay, so, the intro. It goes on and on and on. Now, regular listeners say, okay, Scoots is getting mixed up again. But for most listeners, the intro offers you a chance to get some distance from the day. So if your first reaction is, what is the intro? Why are you still going on? Is this some sort of self-promotion or navel gazing? And I'd say, well, navel gazing, probably. Like I'm recording now, so I can't really gaze at my navel. But probably that's what I was doing when I was a kid. Instead of like paying attention to those shows, I was gazing at the navels of my toys. So the intro eases you into bedtime. So a lot of listeners are doing some sort of other activity, like brushing doll's hair. There's definitely 1 or 2 people out there listening doing that. And I say, thank goodness, keeping the dream alive for me. Thank you. And doesn't it feel good? Isn't it relaxing? I wonder if it's relaxing. Maybe just like maybe it's one of those things, literally a tool in the toolbox. We keep intact, or just, you could get one of those ones that you put the makeup on. That's like if 3/4 size head, keep that put away somewhere. And then when you had a really rough day, you say, well, I'm going to brush some doll hair. It might work. So the intro, it gives you a way to get ready for bed or to start to unwind and then get in bed and get comfortable. Now, you could skip it. 3% of listeners start the show at 20 to 22 minutes. But just see how it goes. And then after the intro is business. That's how, again, it's just part of keeping the podcast free for everybody. Then there's a story. Tonight, I'll be honest, it should be a Great British Bake Off episode, but it could be something else. So I don't really know because I'm recording it tomorrow. So I don't know what it'll be. So we'll say it's a great. We'll just make this an opening for. So it'll be our season finale of the Great British Bake Off. So that's exciting. And then there's some thank yous. So that's the structure of the show. The reason I make the show is because you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a place you could rest. And if you get the rest you need, your world will be better, my world will be better. And that's really important to me. And it's also important because I've been there, tossing and turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep. So I know how it feels. So I want to help. So all I could tell you is give it a few tries, see how it goes. And then kind of test out. Well, I'd like to start it here. I like to listen all night, or I put it on when I wake up, or I start it when I'm starting to get ready for bed, or I do some knitting. Maybe you're knitting clothes for dolls. Maybe it has nothing to do with dolls. You say, wait a second, your bedtime routine does not involve dolls? And you say, oh, figurines. I'm sorry, Uncle Merle. I think figurines and dolls are very similar, but I'll you're polishing your figurines. Well, are you polishing them as they are in the current moment, or do you talk to them or imagine anything? Oh, so you're just polishing figurines. Okay, I apologize. I was projecting on you because I would be talking to them or imagine it'd say, "Oh, how is it? Are you familiar with the sound of music? Do you want to be a yodeler? Are those breeches or shorts you're wearing? Oh, those are breeches, but you're not wearing breeches. Oh, okay. So anyway, I'm glad you're here. I really hope I can help. I work really hard at Yearn and I Strive, and I really want to help you fall asleep. Thanks again for coming by. Here's a couple ways I'm able to be here for you twice a week. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you can set aside. Sometimes I have to use my words more than once. Where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether that's thoughts on your mind or that you're thinking about from the past, the present, or the future. And the thoughts that are coming at you, or popping up or rolling around. I do have a lot of thoughts that my dog, this is an unexplained behavior. I mean, it could be explained away. Say, well, her back itches maybe. But one dog behavior is like when a dog rolls around on its back. I don't know. Sometimes I think she just does it because she's in a good mood. She says, I'm in such a good mood, I'm going to flip right over and wriggle around on my back. Not rolling, I'm wriggling, Scoots. I'm so happy that if you're happy and you know it, wriggle around on your back. Also, it feels good. It's not because I'm scratching an itch that isn't there because I'm scratching it. I'm scratching an itch on the inside. That's why I'm rolling around on my back. Also, aren't you introducing a podcast and not interpreting dog, but like interpreting interpretive dog dance? That's my next podcast. Also known as projecting meaning onto, imagining. So, whatever thought, I'll probably have some thoughts about that later. Thoughts, it could be feelings, it could be emotions coming up for you, or physical sensations. It could be changes in your schedule, your routine. Maybe someone's in town, maybe someone's out of town. Maybe humidity changes in humidity. Holy moly. Sometimes there's even, imagine, I say, well, it must be the humidity that's got me going now. Or not going. So whatever's keeping me awake, I'd like to take your mind off of that. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, eventually soothing, I'll say, creaky, dulcet tones. Pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. Oh, I was going to say, creaky dulcet tones mean my voice is not perfect, not traditionally soothing. Like I'd say, you could classify every moment of the podcast under that. You'd say, well, okay, not traditionally soothing. Some would say not soothing at all. And I'd say, maybe you're right in some sense. Comforting, maybe not soothing. But I'll use creaky dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. I don't want to say ill-informed logic, illogical logic, though, lack of logic. All to take your mind off of stuff and keep you company while you fall asleep. That's really my goal, is to take your mind off of stuff so you can drift off. A few other things to know, though, if you're new. If you're a regular listener or you're new, I'm so glad you're here. Really, it's great to see you. I'm so happy to be here on a regular basis. This is the first intro I'm recording of the year. So that's why I'm saying that. I'm so glad I'm here with you in the future, but in the present, really, we're here together. So thank you. Thank you if this is your first time or your 1,000th plus time. I appreciate it. But if you're new, I did want to tell you a couple of things to know. One is that most people, when they're new to the show, share some feelings. Sometimes it's skepticism. Sometimes it's doubt. Sometimes it's an uncomfortable, awkward feeling. So if you're feeling any of those things, that's normal. Because skepticism, because what do you mean this podcast is supposed to put me to sleep? That's one kind of skepticism. Or what's this dude's going to tell? When is he going to tell us? Why is he going on and rambling? Why is his voice is creaky and dulcet? So those are normal reactions, and I totally accept them. And I even accept the fact that, this podcast may not be your taste. You may not like me or the style of the show, and that's okay too. I'm still glad you're here for as long as you're going to be here. That's why I try to explain this. But so for most people, this podcast is something that takes a time to get used to, but it doesn't even work for everybody. So just kind of see how it goes. And this is not my thing. Most listeners say, hey, give it 2 or 3 tries. So that's to kind of soften stuff, but also a couple other things to know. This is a podcast you don't really listen to. So that's kind of part of the method that we're already in the middle of. This is a podcast you just barely pay attention to. It distracts some of the other parts of you, but it's not something where I tell you a bedtime story and I lead you on a journey and then you drift off, or I kind of set them, I don't know. I mean, I kind of do that stuff, but it's more like you're watching somebody else on a journey that you're barely, like a sailboat. Like when you're sitting, you could watch a sailboat go from point A to point B. Like if you had a view of the bay and you say, oh boy, there's a lot of sailboats out there. I'm just going to watch this one for a little while. At some point, you would either start to create a story, or maybe you're detail oriented and you say, okay, I noticed that mast, or you maybe know stuff about sailboats. I know nothing or almost nothing. But it would be tough to pay attention to it for a couple hours, because at some point you say, this is getting a little bit, I'm just barely paying attention to that one sailboat now. Now I'm looking at the bay, it's sparkling, I'm looking at those clouds, noticing those other boats. Oh, wait a second, do I reckon, look at the windbreaker. I'd love a neon pink or neon green windbreaker. So, what's my point? Oh, this is a podcast you barely pay attention to. I think I just gave you an example of why to barely pay attention to me. I could probably spend all day going on tangents about watching boats that don't need to be watched. So it's a podcast you barely listen to. Weird thing is, it's not really a podcast that puts you to sleep. I'm here to keep you company, and you drift off. While you fall asleep, I'm here to take your mind off stuff. That's why the shows are over an hour, is to give you some peace of mind and give you plenty of time. There's no pressure to fall asleep. And if you can't sleep or you wake up later, I'm going to be here. Like, I'm here to the very end of the episode, trying to be barely engaging for the people that can't sleep at all, or for the part of you that's asleep. I'm still entertaining what I call your brainbots, which we'll talk about in a minute. So it's a podcast you don't really listen to. It doesn't really put you to sleep either. You say, oh boy, you're 0 for 2. And I said, you probably won't like me. So, okay, 0 for 3. Yeah, so structure the show is the next thing that can throw new people off. But regular listeners know it serves a purpose. So show starts off with a greeting. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. That's so you can feel welcome. Then there's an intro. Then there's a listener support. Then there's business. So there's listener support, sponsors, listener support, then the intro. And the intro, it runs from, maybe like minute 6 or minute 8 to minute 20 to 22. And it goes on and on and on. And it introduces the podcast, but it also eases you into bedtime. So some people, 3% of people skip the intro. And they start the show somewhere between 20 and 22 minutes. And then a few thousand people listen to story-only episodes on Patreon. But the rest of the listeners, they're either getting ready for bed, or they're doing some sort of wind down or comforting thing, or they're in bed getting cozy. I mean, I bet you there's one person out there making a cozy, maybe a tea cozy, maybe some other cozy, as part of their bedtime routine. If you're doing that, let us know about it, because that would be cool. We'd say, okay, someone's getting cozy, making it cozy. The Cozy Cast. I think I've had other podcasts named the Cozy Cast, but that would be one. The Cozy Cast. We're making cozies. We're getting Is there something? There's a tea cozy. That's a thing, right? And that comes up every few years. But so the intro goes on and on and on, so that you can the day can get a little bit further away with each passing moment. Then we'll do then there's business. Then we'll do our board game unboxing and look at a couple board games that I got recently. Recently for me, for you, be a little bit in the distant past, but that's cool too, because this is, it's always board game season. So that'll be the intro. Oh, then the bedtime stories, then thank you. So that's the structure of the show. The other things to know that are important is the reason I make the show. I make the show for two reasons. One, because I've been there, tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep. I've had those, so I know how it feels. I know the frustration and how it feels in the deep dark night, and I know it can feel lonely. So if I can keep you company or take your mind off stuff, that's my honor. The other thing is that you deserve a good night's sleep. That's what's important to me, is that you get the sleep you need and you deserve, so you could live your life, so your life could be a little bit more manageable, a little bit fuller. And if that happens, the world as a whole is going to be a better place. It's really the closest thing to a miracle I've ever experienced, is hearing that and knowing it's true. They say, okay, if your life's a little bit better, the world I live in is a better place. And that's something that's easy to forget. It doesn't even have to do with the podcast, really. It's just a fact. In fact, it's easy for me to forget. And that kind of leads into the other stuff of the Brainbots. So that was a term I came up with at some point. And a Brainbot is for me, what I picture, you can picture it, there's so many different types of Brainbots, and they're beautiful in their varied spectrum of existence. But a Brainbot, to me, is some sort of a unifunction bot short for robot or droid, in this case, that I'm imagining most of the time, that only serves a unifunction. Like, it has one function. A lot of times there's a function from the past, like maybe somewhere, probably not a very glamorized Brainbot would be like the wrinkled clothes Brainbot, embarrassment from wrinkled clothes Brainbot. And that thing's been in sleep mode, at least inside me, until about 2 seconds ago when it just woke up. It said, you could have used me. You haven't talked to me in 31 years. And I say, yeah, you're right. But the thing is, I don't need you at bedtime. I could have used you 2 hours before I go anywhere. Where are you? I said, well, that's not really my job. And I said, what do you mean it's not your job? You're the wrinkled clothes Brainbot. No. I'm the embarrassment and shame from wrinkled clothes Brainbot. You're looking for some Brainbot that was never made. That don't wear wrinkled, proactive. We're not proactive. Sorry about that. No problem. That's what I was trying to explain to the listeners. I'm not here to judge you. I was just surprised. I guess I was judging you a little bit, because they just said, if I had some sort of bot that said, hey, you're going somewhere in 3 hours, what are you wearing, and are your clothes ironed? That would mean... Yeah, that's not real. Yeah, you're right. That's a different person than me. You're right about that. So this clothes, can I just call you Ironbot? Wow, yeah, Ironbot. I like that. So Ironbot is like one of these parts of us that probably doesn't get used. Probably could be glamorized in some way, especially now that you're Ironbot. It's got to be tough being Ironbot, because Ironbot only gets called into action, at bedtime for some strange reason. And according to some mysterious algorithm, you say, what? Remember when you why didn't you iron your clothes today? Or, well, man, you would have got a date for that if you had ironed your shirt when you went. And I said, you're probably right. So it's so nice to meet you, Ironbot. I'm more distracted by you and wanting to interact with you. But I was trying to explain to the new listeners what a Brainbot is. So, and now that you're here, it's kind of hard for me to explain it. So I have to explain it in a very subtextual and indirect way, if you catch my drift, listeners. So the glorious Brainbots, like Ironbot here, they have important jobs, and they believe their job is very important. Critical mission, wouldn't you say, Ironbot? It is a critical mission, yeah. Bringing up those feelings for you about ironed clothes, that's the only thing I know how to do. Yeah, that's really the only thing they know how to do, but it's important to them because it's their mission. It's your mission, right? I'm mission-driven, Scooter. And my mission is to make you, feel feelings about the times your clothes weren't ironed. Right, and that's really important to you, huh? Yeah, I guess so, because it's the only job I have. Maybe I could give you another job. How about, what if I give you a job? I've talked about this on the podcast before, and this is a live experiment, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends beyond the binary. We've never attempted this before. Ironbot, because you're iron. You know, one of the things I tell listeners is like to bring a little bit of silliness to bedtime. And one of the things I tell people, like, there's like kissing your shoulders, cupping your elbows, dipping your elbows in milk. You don't do that in bed, though. But I'm thinking for you, what if I give you a new mission? Instead of embarrassment about unironed clothes, at bedtime, I give you the mission of reminding me to kiss my biceps and with a sense of satisfaction, an overall sense of satisfaction that has nothing to do with biceps or exercise, but just the fact that self-kissing, just a peck. I'm not talking about making out with my biceps or leaving anything behind, except for, a sweet, touch of dew from my lips. But what do you think about that? You could be in charge of me kissing my bed, like instead of reminding me about iron clothes, you say, have you kissed your bicep? Have I told you lately, biceps, that I love you with this kiss? Maybe we even sing that song. You're speechless, Ironbot. I would love to do that. Okay, well, hold on. Let me try. Let's try it right. So let's kiss our bicep and tell it we love it. Wow, that's soft. Soft, but like iron, you'd say. Like, oh boy, like if people are imagining my biceps, it's like a piece of iron. Oh, I was thinking more like a cotton ball. Okay, well, let's not quibble. Great job, Ironbot. So that's new. That's never happened before. Thanks, Ironbot. I'll see you later at actual bedtime. So that's never happened before where we've worked with a Brainbot. But you see, Brainbots are like those little things that come up at bedtime. I think and I'm here to kind of you see how I can work with them. And they love listening to my stories. So I guess that was my main point that I was trying to get to that I never did. So I think that's it. I'm glad you're here. I work really hard. I yearn and I strive. And I want to help you fall asleep. Thanks again for coming by. And here's a couple ways I'm able to be here for you twice a week. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. And what I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever is keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, things you're thinking about on your mind, thoughts, past, present, or future thoughts, thoughts of physical sensations. So anything coming up for your body, or feelings, anything emotionally coming up for you. Whatever it is that's keeping me awake. It could be changes in schedule. Like when I'm recording this, not to do TMI, but oh boy, am I having one of those weeks, and it's a week leading up to springing forward. Hopefully you'll be hearing this in the summertime or something. But I do not want to spring ahead because my sprung is already, I don't know if my springs do not have any tensile strength anymore. But I roll with it. I mean, the one thing I learned by making this show is say, hey, take it easy. Okay, can't fall asleep, eh? Okay, what can we do? Can we stay calm? That's always the first question I ask myself. Can we take a breath here? Can we rest? Should we change it up? Should we get out of bed? Anyway, enough about me, because really whatever's keeping you awake is why I'm here right now. I can relate to what's that's what my main point about that. But whatever is keeping you awake, I'd like to take your mind off of that. What I'm going to do is try to create a safe place here where you could set aside whatever is keeping you awake, whether it's, oh, wait, I already said that. Then so what I'll do is I'll send my voice across the deep, dark night. And I'll use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones. Oh, so creaky are my dulcet tones. Just another sign of my imperfection. You say, how do you know that, how do you judge the fallibility of a sleep podcaster? You say, well, I guess on the old creaky scale, Scoots is on he's on the creaky side of dulcet. I think that was one of the many books he never wrote, multiple times. And that's how he also got banned from Waffle House. Really, he got banned from Waffle House. Yeah, he started ordering his eggs on the creaky side of dulcet. And they said, what? And he said, yeah, I'll take my eggs on the creaky side of dulcet. And it actually caused like a backup on everybody's order because they said, I think this young man's serious. And then they went back and they had a conference. Then they called the corporate office. And, on the waffle phone, which is only for, Waffle House emergencies, which in this case is breakfast related. And they said, corporate HQ, what's going on? And they said, we got somebody here with an order that's incomprehensible. And they said, inconceivable? And they said, well, not inconceivable. I guess we can't comprehend it, so we don't know if we can conceive it. And they said, well, what kind of waffle did this young person order? And they said, well, young person was just a polite way. He was describe himself in the third person, but he didn't order waffle. I said, okay. Really? Went to Waffle House, he didn't order waffles. And I said, well, yeah, of course. Okay, what did he order? He ordered his eggs on a creaky side of dulcet, and he just said it, and then he said it again. And we said, that's how you want your eggs? He said, yeah. And we didn't ask him to elaborate because he was so confident. So we're just wondering if you have anything in the big WH database, in the history of the WH. Any of the old cookbooks or corporate secret, vaults, anything on a creaky side of dulcet with as far as an order goes. Has it been it's never happened before? I'll tell you what, as a matter of fact, I can't get into the history of the belief systems of the Waffle House, but I can tell you that this was predicted. One day I was out on a hike and, I came across a cabin, and I got to get to the point, but the person in the cabin told me, one day you'll get an order from a restaurant. One day you'll be working in Waffle House HQ. You'll get an order that makes no sense at all. And, you don't bother with it. Just tell him to order something else. Okay. We'll do that. Tell him he's supposed to, he's not, tell the customer he's not actually in a Waffle House and he's not actually ordering breakfast. He's supposed to be starting the intro to a sleep podcast. Is that what the person in the cabin told you? Yes, it was a wise woman, and she told me to tell him to get back to the intro. Okay, sorry, everybody. It drifted off there. Whatever's keeping you awake, I'd like to take your mind off that. Send my voice, creaky dulcet tones, pointless meanders, and superfluous tangents. I think we just got a dose of that. So I'm going to go off topic to keep you company while you fall asleep. But the thing is, a couple things about this show. One is it doesn't really put you to sleep. I'm more here to keep you company while you fall asleep. That's why the episodes are over an hour, so you have plenty of time to drift off. And even if you can't sleep, I'll be here. I'll be here to the very end. So just kind of see how it goes. And so that's one thing. The other thing is this is a podcast you really don't listen to. It's more of a podcast you barely pay attention to. Kind of like that whole thing. You may have been listening. You say, what is this? Is this a thought experiment? Well, two, is there any belief systems based on Waffle House? I would say 100% guaranteed. Everybody deserves a good breakfast. And a good breakfast every day makes everything go pretty good for, Waffle House's way if you eat there. And, many other things. So it's a podcast you kind of just barely pay attention to. So don't really listen. You don't you kind of just like you say, what is he babbling about? And you might be new. You might say that and you say, oh. And then if you become a regular listener, you say, what's Scoot's babbling about? And then if you become like a super fan, you say, what's Scoot's babbling about? Waffle House. I might barely listen to this one. So those are two things that for new listeners you got to get used to. And that's totally normal because, I would be skeptical if I tuned into this podcast and listened to it for the first 3 or 4 times for sure. Then I would be more skeptical about, you'd say, oh, yes, like you got to view Scoots with some skepticism, but some sort of positive version of that. Where you say, I'm skeptical he'll ever make any sense. And also, I wonder if the Waffle House really does have a waffle phone, or at least they might have one at HQ. So those are a couple things. And the other thing, if you're new, that can throw you off is the structure of the show. So show starts off, it's a very unique structure because it's a very unique podcast, but everything kind of serves a purpose. So show starts off with a greeting, friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So you feel welcome and seen. Then there's business, and so there's the listener support. Then there's the sponsors that support the show. So there's some resources for listeners. And then there's how we keep the podcast free. And so that's the next part. Then there's an intro. That's where it really steers, the intro is around 12 to 20 minutes long of me explaining the podcast. And so at first it could seem onerous. You say, what do you mean? Like, I got to sit through all this? They say, well, no, it's kind of it serves a purpose. The show's designed in a way. And it's definitely not for everybody, but that's why you got to give a few tries. Like, the intro is meant to introduce a new listener to the podcast, but it has new nonsense every single time so that the regular listener, so you can't adjust. Like, whatever part of you is keeping you awake, it can't get used to it and say, well, I know, people say, well, I know Scoots is going to talk about, is he going to imagine he's at a Waffle House tonight again? And that may happen once every 333 episodes or something, but not much often than that. But the intro also serves as a wind down for most listeners, not for every listener, I understand. But as you get used to the show, the majority of listeners start listening as they're easing into bedtime, whether that's getting ready for bed or relaxing or getting in bed and getting comfortable. Versus this show is just not designed to put you to sleep instantly. For some people it does, but not the majority of listeners. And that's great if it puts you to sleep instantly. But so it's meant to kind of ease you as a part of your bedtime routine. So you could be doing some other calming stuff. You could also adjust, 3% of listeners skip the beginning of the show and they start the show at around 20 minutes. I just heard from a reviewer who said they start the show at 30 minutes and then they set a 30-minute timer. And that's a unique way to listen. And if that works for them, so you could kind of see what works for you. I mean, if you like to listen all night or you like something being a patron's always an option, but there's a lot of ways people adjust the show too that works for them with the free show. But so the intro eases you into bedtime. Then it'll be then there's business. Then it's our episodically modular story. A Journey into the Land of Tomorrow that you can listen to in any order. This happens to be like a recap, look back episode. So a great way to start it out or finish it or just fall asleep to it. And then there's the thank yous at the end. So that's the structure of the show. And the reason I make the show is because I've been there. Last night, every other night over the past while, I've been there. Trouble getting to sleep, oh boy, big time. And then trouble staying asleep, big time. So I know how it feels. You can probably hear it in my voice. And I say, okay, well, let's just give it another try tonight. So I know how it feels out there. And like even today, I say, man, I'm more vulnerable, I feel like, emotionally or mentally when I don't get enough sleep. I can't flourish. Or even be, you know what I mean? And so if I can help you with that, while this show does not work for everybody, I really hope it can help you because you deserve a good night's sleep and you deserve rest. I mean, just like I say to myself, it's like, okay, it's not happening right now, but we'll get through it. And we'll just take it one day at a time and we'll see it, we'll try to do our routine again tonight and see if that works. And so I hope sleeping could be part of your bedtime routine and help you get to sleep. It really would be my honor. I work really hard on this show. I yearn and I strive, and I really hope I can help you fall asleep. Thanks. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, things you're thinking about, past, present, or future. So thoughts, feelings, anything coming up for you emotionally, like related to your thoughts or just in general, that's there, stuff you're feeling, physical sensations, changes in time or temperature or routine of, life events. I know it's, yeah, that's why I'm here. Any of those things, or a lot of times it's the layers of those things. Whatever's keeping you awake, whatever's keeping you awake, I'd like to keep you company and take your mind off of that. That's my job. Speaking clearly is not my job, but what I could do is send my voice across the deep, dark night here, create a safe place with some smoothing and padding and, I got that safe place, smooth pad, rubbed down. I say, hey, it's open here for you. Then I send my voice across the deep, dark night. I use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. I go off topic. I get mixed up. I get mixed up. I go off topic. I get confused. And that's what I do here. So, I'm already mixed up. That's why. So all to put you to sleep and keep you company while you drift off. And if you're a regular listener, that was really a lull there. I got mixed up. I said, where was I? But if you're a regular listener, that's pretty early for me to get mixed up, I think. If you're a new listener, I'm glad you're here. Let me give you some information about the podcast so that you can understand how different it is, and hopefully it'll help you fall asleep. But you probably want some information because if you're new, you may be skeptical, you may be doubtful, you may be unsure. So let me tell you. So a couple things if you're new to know. One, this is a podcast you don't really listen to. Obviously, I've done probably 1,000 of these intros, and I still can't do them in a concise way. So this is a podcast you more consume, like when you're looking at water. And there's sometimes when you're looking at water, like tropical water, you might say, oh boy, I hope I remember this. This really, that tropical water looks good. But there's other times you're looking at water and you say, man, that water, I really like looking at water for a few minutes. And then you move on. You say, wow, that's like flowing or waving or sitting. You see, it's even tepid water. Talk about something that doesn't get that gets associated with only, all or nothing thinking, which I'm a specialist at. But there's hopefully we could sing the praises of tepid water for the first time, balanced out with the needs, that maybe has to be dealt with. So again, I'm not going to only sing the praises of tepid water. Tepid water, you're imperfect like a human. There's my ode. Oh, so yeah, I go off to, so this is a podcast you don't really listen to. It's also a podcast that doesn't really put you to sleep. I'm here to keep you company while you fall asleep. That's why the episodes are about an hour. So you have plenty of time to drift off. You don't have to wonder, is the episode going to end before I fall asleep? No, I'm here. I'm here to keep you company if you're awake or asleep. So if you can't sleep, I'm going to be here too. I'm here to the very end because that's my job, is to be talking, keeping your company, taking your mind off of stuff, whether you're awake or asleep, whether you need me or not. So if you can't sleep, I'm going to be here. I just want to repeat that again because being repetitive is also another one of my specialties, but also it's important. So those are two things. The other things that can throw new listeners off, other than my creaky dulcet tones, my stuttering, my getting mixed up, is it takes a couple times to get used to the show. Like I said, it's totally natural to arrive to this podcast and be skeptical or doubtful. Because if you're listening to the show, you've probably tried other stuff to put you to sleep, right? And it may or may not have worked, or it may or may not have worked consistently. So, that's why I'm here, is to help. So that's another thing to know is, I don't know. I don't know why I'm so mixed up today. So if you're skeptical or doubtful, that's totally natural. Just give the show a few tries. That's what most listeners that became regular listeners say in their reviews of the show. Hey, it took 2 or 3 tries for me to get used to the podcast because it's so different. It took 2 or 3 tries for me to just start barely listening to the show. So give it a few tries. There's really nothing to lose. And I hope it can help you. It doesn't help everybody. I'm just not everybody's cup of tea. If you listen a couple times or right away, Scoots, you're not my cup of tea. You may even be using stronger language than that. You could always go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. And you find a bunch of other sleep podcasts and stuff there. So there's that. And what else? So definitely not for everybody. Oh, structure the show. Now, my new listeners, I want to tell you about the structure of the show. My regular listeners, they've kind of adjusted how they listen to how the podcast is one part of their bedtime routine or one layer. Or for some listeners, it's part of their when they wake up routine or when they need some soothing routine. Or maybe their all-night listening routine. So as a new listener, you could kind of see what works for you after you listen a couple times. But it definitely throws new listeners off the structure of the show. Show starts off with a greeting, friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. And I said something about Star Trek, right? Or didn't I say, fans of tepid water everywhere. I'm sure there's a planet with tepid water in Star Trek. It would be an interesting atmosphere, but there's got to be. Is that what was primordial soup tepid by necessity? I don't know. I mean, I picture it bubbling and in churning occasionally. And to the sweet sounds of Helen Mirren's voice. If I take my primordial soup with a side of Helen Mirren narration, if I can, you say, Scoots, where can I get that? I say, I don't know, maybe a IMAX movie. I'm not exactly sure. It's somewhere in my archetypal brain. But where else was I? So. so the structure of the show. So greeting, then there's listener support for you. Then there's support for the podcast via the sponsors or Patreon. Then there's an intro. So the intro starts somewhere around 6 or 8 minutes into the show, and it runs for about 12 to 20 minutes long. And I'll explain more about the intro. Then after the intro is business, more sponsor stuff. Just that's the prime spot what sponsors want to be in, is like after the first third of a podcast. And plus the show's supposed to ease you into bedtime. So that's the sponsors. Then there's our Star Trek coverage. And we'll be talking about the episode Q Who. And you don't need to have seen Star Trek The Next Generation before to enjoy this. It'll put you to sleep. I mean, or take your mind off stuff, no matter if you're familiar with it or not. So, and that will probably be like around 50, 55 minutes long. Then there's some thank yous at the end of the show. So that's the structure of the show. And the reason the intro is like so long, or some people at first when they say, why is the intro so long? Is to ease you into bedtime. It's to help, I'm here to like walk at your side while you fall asleep. And for a lot of us, that means doing something to wind down, or get ready for bed, or get in bed and get comfortable, or do something else relaxing for 15 or 20 minutes. Or just not have the pressure to fall asleep. You could get in your bed and get comfortable. Maybe you're sitting up, or maybe something else and you're listening. And there's no pressure to fall asleep. We're winding down. We're leaving the day behind. And that's what the intro is. And it's like, so for new listeners, you kind of get the idea what to expect. And I just provide example after example by going off topic. And for regular listeners, it's like familiar, but different every single time. And that way, whatever parts you are keeping you awake or jockeying for your attention, they can't really adjust because it's different every time. They can't say, well, I know what Scoots is going to say next. They more say, well, eventually Scoots will, is he going to, and they say, well, is he going to talk about the tepid? When's he going to talk about, will he remember to talk about tepid water ever again? How much of Scoots' entire, like some people are whatever, 98% water. Scoots is 88% primordial soup. And I say, actually, no, we recently got it measured on primordial goop. 44% primordial goop, 44% primordial soup. So even my primordial's watered down. A hubba. Talk about, say, Scoots doesn't do dad jokes. He does, I don't know what to call him. He does some sleepy half jokes. So that's the structure of the show. The reason I make the podcast is because 2 reasons. I've been there. Tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep. That was me last night, trouble staying asleep. So I know how it feels. I know how it can feel. I know how it can feel physically, emotionally, the thoughts, the feelings, the physical sensations. I've had those. And so if I can keep you company and take your mind off of some of that so you can drift back off or you could get to sleep, that's really makes me feel good because I know how it feels when it doesn't feel good. And if I can make something out of bedtime that you look forward to instead of dreading or whatever that word is, that's how I've always viewed bedtime before I started making this podcast. If I can make it something at least neutral, that's special to me. And then the other thing is you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve some rest. You deserve to be rested for tomorrow so you could live your life. And if that can happen, our world's a better place. And some people brush that off or say it's whatever, but I don't know. But it is important and it is true. Like, it's actually a fact. Like if you're a little bit more rested, the entire world's a little bit better. So that's important to me. And I think that's mostly it. I guess I was trying to get back to that tepid water. I mean, I guess all or nothing thinking, like I said, is a specialty of mine. So when I first thought of tepid water, I said, okay, well, here's all the things And I say, okay, well, yeah, those are all things associated with tepid water. But it's also might be nice to look at. Some people may call it a home. Some beings, even though you're saying some of those beings, we prefer, as humans, we prefer they don't make their homes there. You'd also say it's not the temperature. It's a temperature that's neither cooling nor soothing. And I'd say you're like me. You've waded into tepid water before. I hear you. I know tepid water. I know how it feels. That could be a poster that could be on the cat poster too. And I mean, I'd say, yeah, I know how you feel. Tepid water. I know how you feel. Tepid. That's like, we say, Scoots, how do you approach adventure? Like tepid water, man. I got my toolbox full of primordial goop, and I tepidly approached adventure. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't call tepid water underrated. I would just say, let's try to look at it in a more like in a not all or nothing way, because you say, well, I just don't know quite enough about you to totally sing your praises, other than to say, tepid water, give it a shot. Look at it for a little while. You don't need to wade into it, but maybe even I could wade into it one day or dip my toe in and say, that is an interesting temperature. The temperature of tepid water is normally like the same temperature as soup, right? Like after soup that you don't have to blow on, but it's still a good temperature to consume. That's the temperature I associate with tepid water. Maybe a bit cooler than that. Because you say, it's not the temperature of bath water. Oh, that sweet, sweet bath water that's ready to relax us. No. But, so, I don't know, tepid water. Did I say tepid water? Give it a shot? So, I don't know. I guess I mean, as much as I wanted to sing your praises, I'm sorry, tepid water. All I can say is that I guess I could say I gotta put it back on me. I have to accept my responsibility to go out there and give you a shot, give you more attention of my attention, being in the present moment with tepid water. One of my many books that I'll never write, or, meditations on existence. So to get back to all of you, dear listeners, I'm glad you're here. I work really hard on this show. It takes a few tries to get used to, but I really hope, I really yearn, I really strive, I really want to help you fall asleep. But thank you again for coming by. And here's a couple of ways we're able to do this for you free twice a week.
Museums are more than places we visit on a field trip. Across the country, museums protect our shared history, care for wildlife and collections, strengthen local economies, support job training, and spark curiosity in people of all ages. Right now, you can help make sure museums stay strong for future generations. Museum Advocacy Day is a national moment when people contact Congress to ask for continued support for museums and the federal agencies that fund them. Learn how to take action at aam-us.org and tell your representatives that museums matter to education, to communities, to the economy, and to our democracy.